What's going on, good people? Your boy E Buck in the building. Y'all know what time it is. It's time for that show that we call the Guru Sports Session. Can't do the Guru Sports Session without that dude that we call the Guru. That's that man himself. Hugh, what's going on, Hugh?
What's good? How everything going, man?
Hey, well, it is what it is. Some people hate when I say that, but it describes it best at this point. At any rate, we ain't gonna talk about those things. We're going to talk some sports, y'all, because that's what we came to do. So without further ado, we're gonna get into it. Before we get into what this show is gonna be about, because today we are going to give you our final grades for NFL 24 in terms of the 32 teams and how they did. We also gonna give you our thoughts on the NBA first half of the season, what teams are going to get to that next level, and what teams should probably go ahead and get started for Cancun. You know what I'm saying? All that being said, we ain't gonna waste your time. We're about to get into it. First of all, we had some great games in college basketball. And of course, us being us, we're not talking about the men. Men's games, they getting better, but they still just ain't getting me there. What's doing it for me is the women's games. We getting some great matchups. We definitely got some great ones last week. I'm gonna start it out with what was probably the game of the week when we had USC, then ranked number 6, playing the number 1 ranked UCLA, undefeated Bruins. But guess what? Not undefeated no more. They lost. They lost because it was Juju time, okay? And long story short, people, I'm not even gonna disrespect Juju. I'm gonna call her by her government on this one. Judea Juju Watkins. Because she played like a grown ass woman in that game. 38 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 8 blocks. She played a complete and total game. If you just seen her play just that one game, I would dare say what several other people have said. She is ready for the WNBA right now. Your thoughts, Hugh?
Correction, 11 rebounds.
Matters not. It was still dominant.
She
Dominant.
basically did what we thought she'd do. We thought that if any team would beat UCLA, it would be USC, and they basically did what they had to do. Even when she was scoring as high rate she was at the beginning of the game, at the half, I said, man, it's still relatively close. I want to know what's going to happen in the second half, and I was like, will she be able to keep that same intensity? Which I apologize to Juju for that because I think she even played better in that second half. We didn't think it was going to be no team to go undefeated. And that was a fact. I still feel like if I'm UCLA, which they're going to have some more challenges in the Big Ten, man. I still feel like they're not going to go just. It ain't going to be no one. It may be a one game loss team with them, but I think they still got another loss in the column, maybe two.
Well, you got to remember, Hugh, they play USC again in March. So that
Man, I
might
keep
be the loss
forgetting,
right
man.
there.
You know what? It's weird to me too. I keep forgetting USC and all these teams now are in the Big Ten, so they got to play each other twice. Yeah, I definitely still feel like they're going to lose another game, but I
Right.
don't think it's
Not
going to
to
be.
mention there will be a Big Ten tournament where they might actually play them a third time. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Okay, that was one game. Another big game we got was on Sunday, where UConn went down to South Carolina to play the number 2 ranked South Carolina Gamecocks. And man, the game we got was not the game we was expecting. Talk to him, you.
I laughed. I said, "Wow, man, they lost at the half to me," which basically it was the fact they was already done at the half. We thought that with the intensity that usually South Carolina play, that they would definitely handle business at home, but we was wrong. They snapped that 71 game win streak. And I think somebody said what I said too, and that's why I laughed. I remember the lady saying, I forgot who it was, but one of the commentators was saying, "You need to stop worrying about Philly, and you need to focus on the game now." It seemed like once they won the Super Bowl, she was on cloud nine, and it seemed like she need to refocus herself. But no, that ain't the case. The case is they had to get their lumps, man. And the thing is, you can't poke a bear when they're down, man. And you can't even not give credit to UConn because they're already a defensive minded team. The problem happened was with South Carolina with that UConn game is the Achilles heel, and meaning literally UConn was healthy. They finally are just about healthy enough to where you got AZ Fudd playing at a high level. We already seeing Sarah Strong. She's matured in what she already she's matured past her years. And then you just have Paige Beckers and everybody else casually playing the way they normally do. They can play at a high level when they're healthy. And I think they needed AZ Fudd at the most. And those 28 points was the difference maker. She came in and she clowned. We seen the game before when she went off. And he was like, if she play anywhere near like this, it's going to be a different story once they play, South Carolina. And it seemed like she was clicking and everybody else on that level, they could not miss. And what we thought was going to be a close game, well, I thought was going to be a close game. South Carolina win. It was a blowout, humiliating blowout on their own court. But yeah, you got to give credit where credit was due, man. UConn stepped up and they stepped to the occasion.
I think South Carolina took them for granted. They came in there. Give Gino credit for making the schedule the way he did. I don't think they beat South Carolina like that if they hadn't already played a Notre Dame and a Tennessee, two very defensive, intense teams that they actually played relatively well against. They lost to both of those teams, but because they played those types of teams, they weren't intimidated by South Carolina and their defense. And long story short, both of those teams had the same problem. They need a dominant big because neither one of those teams have that. That evened it out. UConn, their shooting is what got them over the top. Like I said at halftime when I sent the text to Hugh, yeah, I definitely see them winning this game. But if AZ Fudd get hot, this is about to be a blowout, and that's exactly what we got.
Yeah, it definitely didn't surprise me, man. Like you said, the bigs are not really quality bigs that they have right now. And for now, it's just they're gonna have to fight throughout this season. They lost a little bit on South Carolina end, but still they recruit well. But you're just gonna have to start focusing on going through that portal, man. And if you don't respect that portal enough, man, it'll come back and bite you. Like this year, for instance, I think that they'll go pretty deep when the playoffs come. Do I think they'll make it past the Elite Eight? Possibly, but do I think they'll get any further than that? Absolutely not. It's too many bigs and there's too many good teams at this point. And at the same time, I had to give credit where credit is due. When you playing in a game like that, and to keep the intensity at in their home court too, because that crowd was rowdy and they didn't get rattled, man. They just stayed and they played their part, man, and they just basically executed the way they were supposed to.
I think UConn gonna be better than I anticipated. I can see them making a Final Four. I can see South Carolina making a Final Four. I'm really interested to see how well they play in the Southeast Conference tournament. That being South Carolina, because that by far is the toughest conference right now. When you look at all the teams between Tennessee, them, the Texas squad that they played earlier, and we're about to talk about them next. LSU, the list goes on. I mean, even Vandy got a quality person that we'll talk about in a second. So yeah, SEC is definitely to on both the men's and the women's side. Actually, since three of the four top five teams on the men's side is in the SEC, those are going to be the teams to beat come tournament time. But yeah, the last game we want to get into, right after that game, we got LSU Texas. What were your thoughts on that one, Hugh?
I thought it was a pretty hard fought game. Texas, they were in a battle, and it was a pretty good game between the two teams. But got to give credit where credit is due because Texas has been beating some pretty high quality teams too. They beat South Carolina and they messed around and beat LSU like right after. Man, that schedule's no joke. And for them to had that type of poise and what's the old girl named Madison Booker, man. Yeah, that 16-10, man, it was actually pretty impressive the way she got it too, because that LSU team got some bigs and they no joke, man, and they definitely defensive minded with Kim Mulkey. But yeah, they just seem like they dig deep when they need to, man. Because remember, it was a close game when they beat South Carolina too. They dig deep, and they just seemed like they wanted it more in both games.
Actually, Madison Booker did not have the best game that game. She missed a lot of shots, particularly in that first half. They what got it for them was two things. One, they had contributions from all the bigs, the littles, the bench, but more importantly, going 21 for 21 from the free throw line. Crazy work, okay? That's gonna win you most games when you hit all your free throws. It's kind of hard to beat a team that was hot like that at the
Yeah.
moment.
And it's funny too because the fundamentals are hit different, man, when you look at the men's in college and even in the pros, man. A lot of teams don't really hit the free throws when they need it. If you could get 23 throws and you make 21 or 21, and that's a difference maker. Just imagine if they went 15 for 21, that would have been a ball game. They would have
Yeah,
lost.
exactly. They needed every point they got at the line, and they made it happen. Okay, before we move on to what we came here for, definitely want to give a shout out to a young lady by the name of Michaela Blakes, who plays for the Vanderbilt team in the SEC. For years we was dogging Vanderbilt because they was seen as a academic school, and in the SEC they was usually the team that was taking it on the cheeks with most things. But suddenly it's something in the water over there in Vanderbilt. They gymnastics team in the top 25. The men's team playing decent. The women's team playing well, including this kid Blakes, who just broke the freshman record by scoring 55 points in a game. That's crazy. But I don't know what is going on with Vanderbilt these days, but there ain't no punk school no more, you.
This her second time doing it too, man. She broke Juju's record the first time when she scored 50 points, and she turned around and broke her own record this time. So yeah, that just let you know, man, it's definitely something in the water over there, recruiting and all, man. They did it in like you said, in basketball, they're doing it in football. It's just in
Even the
general, they're
baseball
not like
team.
a
I mean,
punch.
come on.
They're not a punching bag anymore, man. They're trying to be relevant nowadays. You got to respect them, and you can't underestimate what they're bringing to the table anymore. Because when you see Vanderbilt before, man, that was like an easy win.
Yeah, but keep in mind, she is a freshman averaging over 20 points a game. That's unheard of. I mean, I go back women's college basketball some 30 something years. Most women were not even averaging 20 points a game. It's over 25 women in NCAA Division One currently averaging over 20 points a game. Crazy.
Yeah, it's like the game just basically escalated, went up to a higher level, man. And from the kids in high school, the recruits are just like highly recruited, man. And you see how good the kids coming out of high school, then going into the collegiate now and then to the WNBA. And yeah, man, it's just a different road, man. You'll see certain guys in like the men's part, and and there's no disrespect to the NCAA with the men's basketball, but who's the main person you really hear about besides Cooper Flag? It ain't really too many people out there you really throwing out there. But the women,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
like
you
you
you,
hear
you
from a
may throw
variety.
Caleb Love in that mix, but beyond
Okay.
that, not so much.
And it's rare that you hear a lot too, man. One of our favorite guys, over there in Kansas, he ain't on Michigan no more, so I just call him HD.
Right,
No disrespect, but you ain't gonna get no respect for me throwing my team under the bus and having critical things to say about them. But we don't even hear from him neither, man. And they're not
right. I
actually.
mean,
They had the same record, or they close to the same record as us, man. He thought he was going in a better situation, and he's
right.
over
I
there
mean,
struggling
actually,
too.
Michigan a top 25 team without him, so it's kind of crazy.
So that speak volumes.
Yeah, but nonetheless, people, yeah, it's still some good games coming up on the women's side. Make sure you check them out. All right, let us move on, people. It is time for us to give the final grades for the NFL 2024 season. Okay, I'm gonna kind of be bopping around. Can you keep up with me, Hugh?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna start out worst team in the league beyond a shadow of a doubt in my mind. Tennessee Titans. They got an F. Plain simple. They failed all aspects: quarterback, wide receiver, special teams. The only reason why it's not an F minus is because that kid, the running back, yeah, the guy they got from Dallas. Dallas, what was you thinking? That's probably the only decent person I would save from last year's team and put on next year's team. Anybody else on that team, and I'm talking about from Revis on down, start over. F. Your thoughts, Hugh?
I agree. I just didn't really feel like that was a good team. They just was bad all around, and they need to do better at the quarterback position. And now the funny part about it is everybody wanted to know why, their quarterback, Will Levis, went in the second round. Hell, she should have been a third, maybe an early fourth round pick. He definitely is not the guy over there. Maybe they don't got a good quarterback coach whatsoever. Maybe he just wasn't prepared. But in this case, I definitely don't feel like he was a good enough quarterback. Maybe a backup at best. But yeah, besides the running back over there, man, I just don't really think that they have a solid team, and that's just basically all I really have to say about it. And like you said, that's the only person who I feel like, besides their defense, they have pretty good pieces on defense, but I believe they're going to have to start getting rid of some of those guys.
3-14.
Still, they got a good pass rush over there. Their defense is sneaky good when it mattered, but it
Now,
didn't really matter when they 3-13. I don't even
Now,
want to talk about it no more.
I would agree. The next team I'm about to talk about actually had a decent defense, but the rest of it didn't seem to come together. That would be Jacksonville Jaguars. They end up finishing 4-13. They got a lot of good pieces on that squad, but for whatever reason, they just couldn't put it all together. So I gave them a D minus because they got stuff to work with. It's just when it came to putting the Legos together, somebody put them all on the wrong side or something. That's why they had to get rid of the coach and they got to start over. But at least they got something to work with.
I gave them a D. I did I like their wide receiver, running back Trevor Etienne. I mean, the quarterback, we don't know what he still potentially have. We thought he was going to be better than what he was, but it was just weird, man. They spent a lot of money a couple years ago, and we thought that when they went to the playoffs and won that big game, against the Chargers, that they was going to move forward, but they took some steps back, and that's why I give them a D. They still have a foundation to work with, but I just don't really feel like they're doing anything, and until they get a coach who can coach them up, I don't think they won't be doing anything in the future.
I think if they get coached up, they could be middle of the pack next year. They're not done. They're not Tennessee. Okay,
No.
stick with the AFC South. We got Indy. They finished 8-9. I said in the preseason that I didn't know what team we was gonna get with Indy. I didn't really know what to make of them. 8-9. I still really don't know. Um, the quarterback. I think it all boils down to the quarterback. They got decent parts. They got a good running back, obviously. They got a couple decent receivers. They got an okay defense. They got a good offensive line. They need maturity from the quarterback.
They need maturity from him. They definitely need another backup over there, man, because that dude. If I was looking for a team with a quarterback, if I had to sit behind the quarterback, it'd be him because he'll be eventually hurt for some few games. And that's where it all starts, man. You got Mike Pittman. You got a lot of good guys over there on that team. I still feel like they need to get them a really quality wide receiver on the opposite side of Pittman. But other than that, man, it's crazy because they got a decent, solid, a pretty solid offensive line, the defensive line. They got some good young playmakers over there too. It's just I just don't get them right now, man. But I'm gonna say, even though in the 8-9 effort, I would give them a C.
I gave
'Cause
them a
they
B
was average.
minus. I also gave the team that won that division a B minus. That's Houston because we expected so much more than what we got from Houston. Let's be honest. And I think what it really boiled down to was one, the injuries. The
Yeah,
injuries, particularly in the wide receiver, that hurt. And B, that offensive line just didn't come to play enough.
yeah, I'm gonna give them a B minus too, because they could have potentially had an A. They need to get that O line together. I think we focus on what they did as far as on paper with Stephon Diggs and a lot of the good pass rushers like Hunter, and just when Daniil Hunter went over there, I said, man, they're gonna really start making noise because they already had Will Anderson and some other good key pieces over there, Derek Stinger, and I just didn't really understood why, if they knew that that was their issue last season, why didn't they focus on it now? But they'll definitely be focusing on it now in free agency. And, I just feel like that team could have definitely been better than what they were. But that's basically all I got to say about them. I'll give them a B minus.
Uh, Kudos to Stephon Diggs, by the way, kind of off topic slightly, but apparently Stephon Diggs to find him a new person to kick it with.
Mm.
Him and Cardi B kicking it. Hmm. You know, Hugh
No
don't too much
comment.
care. Hugh don't too much care for those types of comments. We know this, but every now and then I gotta slide that in for some of y'all that kind of like those types of things. Anyway, moving on. Let's kick it to AFC West, okay? First, give it a bad grade. Raiders, D. Bad D,
Yeah,
okay? They actually do have some good defenders.
they
That's
do.
why they didn't get the F. But truthfully, that offense, garbage. The way that they dealt with the offseason, get rid of I just don't like how they set any of that up. I don't see them being any better next year at all.
They need to do really a solid draft, man. They got some good. They got the Brock Bowers over there, man. And it ain't really too much on offense at all, man. But then I've been
Right.
hearing rumors right now. The team to look out for Sam Darnold is the Las Vegas Raiders. But if you do put him over there, man, you're gonna have to put some pieces around him and spend some money, man. I just didn't like the way they did Antonio Pierce, man. Not giving him no weapons, and he was a one and done without even giving that dude really a true opportunity. So I'm gonna give him an F because of that.
I ain't mad at it. I mean, the Raiders always been ran kind of weird, especially since Al left and his son took over. Anyway, let's move on. All right, Denver. I actually gave Denver a B. They overachieved
Yeah, they
in
did.
terms of what we thought they would be. We thought they'd be better. We didn't think they would make the playoffs. At least I didn't. They always had some stuff to work with, but the sky's the limit for them.
Yeah. They look pretty sharp too, man. Bo Nix was better than what we had thought he'd be. We thought he'd be decent. I thought he'd be on that cusp of a C. But yeah, he definitely get a B because of the defense is so good. You can afford to develop him over there. And you still got Cortland Sutton, and I still feel like they need a solid number two, or if it's gonna be a number one over there. But
Right.
other
See,
than that, they
good
got
running
running
back
back
also.
and Devontae Williams. They got a nice little team to go with over there, man. I think that was a good idea for them to have that, the way it was done, and the way they put that team together with Sean Payton. Yeah, they definitely deserve a B.
Right. That being said, let us move on. Of course, we got to talk about the LA Chargers. I also gave them a B. Problem with the Chargers, they don't have enough weapons on that offense. Defensively, they got some things to definitely work with over there. Got to keep them healthy, mind you. But the offense is the key. They need to bolster up that offense, particularly the wide.
But if I had to look at this year, I would definitely give them B minus because I feel like they played well when they needed to, but then when the big games came about and they needed to step the game up, they just always came up short. So a good good receivers in general, they already have a run game and they're gonna play good defense. That's just the way Harbaugh play. That's just their model. Both brothers, but yeah, I still feel like they can do a little better over there, man. And hopefully they can get some people in the free agency and the draft. But yeah, I give them a B minus.
Yes, definitely some people talking about getting traded. That would be a good spot for a couple of them. Okay, then of course we have the people that made it to the Super Bowl, Kansas City Chiefs. I gave them an A. I had to because you just don't make it to three straight Super Bowls. Okay, only one other team even remotely did it. That of course would be the Bills. Of course, they didn't win any of them, but the fact that they went through what they went through and somehow managed to still be 15-2, granted, got to Super Bowl and laid a big old egg. But when you look at the beginning of the season, how they barely won so many of them games, they still found a way with all the injuries they had, particularly on that offense and that atrocious offensive line. They still found a way to make it to the Super Bowl. So I got to give them credit for that. Obviously, you only get an A because you didn't do what you came to do. Not
I'm
to
gonna
mention,
give them a B because they fell short, and the two Super Bowl performances, man, was like the worst games of Patrick Mahomes' career.
in the league. They were not. And they do have some things to work on, obviously, but I do think they have a quarterback. I will say that. As far as everything else, it's gonna take a lot more work. So yeah, D it is.
They had, and I give them a D because they did have a okay defense. The defense never really was that bad, but the offense was bad. When you got guys that can be on another team, fourth string, or like on a practice squad, and they're your starters, yeah, you got a huge problem over there in New England. But for them to pull through and play the way they did with the weapons and the people who they really had, which wasn't that good, and still come up with their record, yeah, I gave them a D.
Right. And then of course, organizational wise, I'm still upset with how they did Gerard Mayo. That was
Yeah.
garbage.
If
Pure
you
garbage.
knew, it'd have been better if they just kept, or just said, "Well, we'll keep you on board" before they even made him a coach,
Yeah,
and have Mike Vrabel be the coach, and just have him learn under Vrabel, rather than do
exactly.
what they did.
Exactly. I agree. Okay, moving forward, the Jets. I actually gave them a D minus. They had so many big expectations once they signed Aaron Rodgers, and he came back and he was quote unquote healthy. We figured they was a playoff team and all. Well, no, they figured that. Me, not so much. But to get what we got out the deal, 5-12, you brought over your number one receiver. We just knew that was going to be the spark they needed. None of it worked. It was just bad. Coach fired. Hell, if I could fire the owner on that team, I would. Just terrible. Terrible.
Yeah, you better than me because I definitely gave them an F, man. And I looked at it like just the way they handled things, and just it was just a mess over there. And they still didn't really get the win loss record together. They expected for a four-time MVP to go over there and emerge and to help that team go to the next level, and he failed miserably. And the crazy part about it too is, think about this, even I'm about to tell you, he had the same record as the other kid, Zach Wilson,
Exactly.
and they felt like they could do better without him, and they didn't. So yeah, I get him an F.
Right. And the two best weapons you got over there, you didn't utilize correctly. You didn't let Wilson be him. And the
Hmm.
running back, he didn't get what he should have got out the deal. So yeah, it was bad. Okay. Miami, I gave them a C. I really wanted to give them a C minus. They finished 8-9. Um, I think what it really boiled down to is what you gonna do about Tua.
Hmm. I gave them a C minus. They should have got a D. The reason why is they do good against teams who are not on their level, but when they got to play the games and have high expectations, they always seem to fail. And then too, if they do well during the season and make the playoff once they hit the cold climax games, what they're going to do? They're basically, I don't think they even won a game in the cold. So
I
yeah,
think they had 1-1, but yeah,
and
you
then
got
with
the
Tua,
Tua issue, and then Tyreek don't want to be there no more.
yeah,
It's not looking good.
which they're saying that he's going to be traded possibly. So
And
yeah,
one
it's
of
a
the
mess
ideal
up there.
places I would want to go if I'm Tyreek Hill, San Diego Chargers. Just saying. Okay, then of course the team that won that division, Buffalo, I gave them a very strong A minus. Strong A minus. They they overachieved as far as I'm concerned because yeah, they had the MVP, and I do believe he should have won MVP. Yeah, I understand the numbers for Lamar, but when you look at some of the performances he had, particularly like when they played the Lions and when they played Kansas City and the types of performance that he put on, he was definitely that guy. We just knew that once Stephon Diggs was gone, who was he gonna throw the ball to?
Hmm.
Apparently, that did not matter either. So, get him another good receiver on that team, like say a T. Higgins, to add to that mix and make a couple adjustments on that defense. They right back in the mix next year.
Yeah, to lose Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, and still play as good as they did, I'm gonna give them a B plus, man. I feel like they played really good and they damn near got to the Super Bowl, man. It's just, it's like when you have Jordan that's in your way, he got Patrick Mahomes in his way right now, and there's nothing really right now that they can do. And I believe they lost too much, and they finally came back to catch up with them in that game because you don't got like a Micah Hyde. and you didn't have a lot of those guys that got you to the point where you were so close, but then you were still so close, but just couldn't make it. So yeah, I give them a B plus.
All right, moving on now to the AFC North. Okay, Cleveland. Oh my God. I wanted to get them an F so bad. I really did. I gave them a very strong D minus. If it was any room between D minus and F, it's right there. Okay, and it's the organization in general. They got good players on that team. We know that. Watson just ain't gonna be Watson. If he had not gotten the contract that he got, he would not be playing for them right now. They would have cut him. But because he got the guaranteed deal, you got to blame the organization for that. When they actually didn't want to spend money, they lost good people. When they actually spent money, they got bad people. And now, of course, the most coveted person on that team don't want to be on that team. And if I'm Cleveland, you got to charge it to the game. You got to keep him, whether he want to be gone or not. You're not gonna get back what you need to make that deal work for you. You're not gonna get a deal like they got for the kid that eventually ended up in San Diego. Forgive me, my mind is losing
Cool,
again.
Khalil Mack.
There we go. You're not gonna get 3 and 4 number one picks for you should. He is worth that, but you're just not gonna get it. And you can't afford to give him away. So yeah, it's gonna be a long, long road in Cleveland. Okay, D minus minus.
I give them an F because they couldn't put it together all this time. It's time just to blow that team up. I already know they was talking about getting rid of the running back, Nick Chubb, but then now they're talking about, right, like you said, I don't believe you're gonna get back what you deserve for Miles Garrett, but it's time for y'all to just go ahead and move on because I don't think that you're gonna get what you would expect out of them now because you guys already just threw that organization in the mud. When we thought that they were really going to do good and go to the next level when they got Odell and all these people and it was still a circus, I don't think there's no way to come back from that.
Right, and we interrupt these grades to basically talk about something real quick, if you don't mind. You, the latest team to get a WNBA franchise, Cleveland, not us, Cleveland. Your thoughts on that?
I really had no thoughts, man. Really surprised about it, but hey, if that's what they want, then hey, you get what you asked for. But yeah, I wasn't really too fond of that, but I mean, it is what it is at this point. Well, eventually, I hope we can get us a team, but man, they just came out of nowhere and got their team. So, what did they do? It must have
Well,
threw a lot
granted,
of money to
they
them,
did have a
man.
franchise before, but they sucked, man. That's why they left.
It
We
must
had a
be the money.
franchise that we won championships. I mean, we had better ownership group putting forth and whatnot. I just don't get it. I think they basically felt bad for Cleveland, so they gave it to them. We got
It
players.
must be the money.
It had to be the money. Anyway, moving on. AFC North, we talking right now. We're going to Cincinnati. Cincinnati, they finished 9-8. I gave them a B. The problem is they played good second half of the season. First half, they was on some bug. That's why they didn't get where they needed to go. And granted, they had a couple good defenders on that squad, obviously, but the rest of that defense, not so much. That offensive line at times showed up, showed out. Obviously, they got a good offense when you look at the two receivers and, of course, Joe Burrow, tight end, all that, good running back, but they just didn't do enough to do what they need to do to get to that upper echelon.
I gave them a C because it was Jekyll and Hyde this year. They always start off stinking it up in September, and then they pick it up when it's too little, too late. I mean, there's no excuse to have the numbers Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase had, and for them to be as bad as they were this year and to be under 500. So yeah, I would definitely get them a C.
Yeah, and it's crazy because maybe in another division they may have actually made the playoffs, but not here. Okay. Next, of course, we got Pittsburgh, who definitely overachieved this year. I also gave them a B because we weren't expecting this from them. A lot of people wasn't expecting them to keep that streak going of another winning season for my man's Tomlin, but he did. But what it boiled down to was they played good till they did. We already know. Main thing they need to work on in Pittsburgh, receiver. Wide receiver. Continue, Houston.
Yeah. I gave him a B because I thought that they could have had an A if they continued and made a strong playoff push, but they fizzled at the end of the season, losing those games, and then they went into the playoffs. Still a question mark at quarterback and what they're going to do there. But like you said, all they really needed was like a really good wide receiver because with George Pickens and the issues he have, yeah, baby too, because I just don't really see George Pickens cutting. I don't know what it is, man. It's just something about the divas, and when it comes to Pittsburgh Steelers and playing with them. You had AB, you had Mike Wallace. It's a lot of those guys, man.
Antonio Holmes, it goes back years and
What was
years.
my,
Something
what
about
was the, what was the other guy's name? The Sanders kid,
yeah, you had that guy who ended up going
Miles
to
Sanders
Denver.
or
Yeah,
something. Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, Octavius Bryant. I mean, the list
yeah,
goes on and on. I don't know what it is about Johnson, Juju. I mean, it's something about playing receiver in Pittsburgh that don't make your mind right. Give you automatic CTE. I don't know what it is,
yeah.
but
It's
they need to
crazy.
figure it out. Anyway, that of course leaves us with Baltimore. Baltimore got to be. They got to be because they should have been there, bro.
Yeah,
This should have been the team that beat Patrick Mahomes and made it to the Super Bowl this year. This should have been the team that went straight up with not New England, Lord,
Philadelphia.
with Philadelphia, and they would have made a game of it. It was his time. Lamar had everything he needed except for the wisdom that it took to put it together. I blame coaching for them. You got
Yeah.
the best running back in the business in short yardage situations. You should have used him more. I don't know why it was those games where the fourth quarter would come and they just stopped running dude when that was the best time to run dude. After he didn't wore everybody out all game. I just didn't understand.
Yeah, man. You better than me. I gave him a C plus because of the poor execution. And like you said, man, with that team and with Derrick Henry on that team, they should have went farther than what they did, man. I was definitely disappointed in them. And yeah, for that, that's why I gave them a C plus. They have everything you need over there, and the defense even played better, man. But when you needed to run the ball and you needed to make better decisions, it's like I don't know what it is about Lamar, man. He just can't adjust and he can't make the thing or do the things he need to do to win for
I
some reason.
cannot blame Lamar for last year. I cannot, especially the way that last game went. Lamar didn't
Oh,
make
you can't blame him for that game, but then some games he tried to throw the ball too much when all he had to do was just get the ball to Henry. But you can't really blame it on him, like you said, because guess what? Guess who's the coach on that team and who's telling them the plays? John
exactly
Harbaugh.
run the offense you are given.
Hmm.
Plain and simple. All right, so yeah, that is pretty much what's going on the AFC side. Let's swap it on over to the NFC. All right, NFC, we're gonna start out with the West. San Francisco 6-11. I gave them a C minus. Purdy, when his people got hurt, he was not the same quarterback. Simple.
He looked like Mr. Irrelevant when he didn't have his pieces. And they've been injured this year too. They probably suffered it just as bad as we did as far as the injury standpoint. But yeah, I'll give them a D. And it's sad too because it's like what's gonna happen with the running back now? Christian McCaffrey, man. I'm thinking he's a lost cause, man.
I think their window is closed.
Yeah.
They had their
Agree.
chance. This is it. All right, moving on. Arizona, I actually gave them a B. They finished 8-9. People thought the little dude could get it done, but I like that dude, Kyler Murray. I swear I do. And they got, of course, the receiver now, young junior over there, Marvin Harrison Jr. He did his thing. They got the good running back over there. They got a good defense. It's a
They
decent
do.
defense over
A
there.
sneaky good defense.
It just boiled down to some games they just kind of ran out of gas, and some games they showed improved. I think they will be better. I think they're a playoff team next year.
Man, they got Trey McBride, a good tight end. They
Yeah,
got Marvin Harrison Jr. They got some good
they
pieces
got
over
quite
there,
a few
man.
things. I mean, Buda
And
Baker, I
the
love that
defense.
dude.
I think that the issue right now is, man, for next year is they need to figure out now, either free agency in the draft, they need to get somebody to get the pressure off of Marvin Harrison Jr. now, because you know everybody gonna be watching them. But yeah, I gave them a B minus though. They was a really good team, and at some point, man, it was a couple. Just think about if they would have won that Vikings game and won a few games where it was just like at the wire that they could have
Right.
been there. So yeah, they
Right.
were a team I didn't think was going to do that good, man. But with Kyler Murray stepping up and being a leader, you could see it this year. It showed.
Meanwhile, we got Seattle. I gave them a B minus. They finished 10-7. Should have made the playoffs. Didn't. I think this it. I think this is as good as it's gonna get for Seattle.
I gave him a B because for him to do what he did with that team, the defense was okay, and the offense was kind of shaky with the injuries. But yeah, man, like you said, it's only so much now that you could put on Gino that he can't handle. But yeah, I feel like they should have went to the playoffs. Was surprised they didn't, but at the same time, it's like I still feel like with them too, their window is definitely going to be closing within a year or so.
Yeah. And then of course I got the Rams. I gave them a B plus. They finished 10-7, but hell, they was kind of close to making it to the Super Bowl again. They damn self. Get
Yeah,
it. Get that dude Matthew Stafford some credit, man. He took that team places they ain't think they could go.
Yeah, I actually gave them a B because I was surprised in how well they played. Because remember, at the beginning of the season, they wasn't playing so good. They picked
Uh,
it up, they started clicking, and they went to a whole nother level. See, now if you ask me the same thing next year, I wouldn't be so sure because they got a lot of things they got to figure out. But yeah, this year I give them a B for their effort. And man, that
and it's
pass
crazy because it
rush,
seemed like the Mihu, they kind of want to blow it up.
yeah, it looked like they are. It was sad too because now, man, and the worst thing that could have happened was Cooper Cup getting hurt, man, last season because now it's the Puka the Cool show, and he the odd man out.
It's crazy. And they might get rid of Cooper Cup and Matthew Stafford. I don't understand it, but
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility.
we'll see how it play out. Okay, going on to the NFC South, New Orleans, Carolina. I gave them both a D. It's kind of both the same scenario. It was a couple games they decided, no, we ain't that bad. But remember, they both 5-12. Half of them wins was against each other. So, you know, I mean, I Bryce Young, you look like you do have some type of future in the league, but your team gonna need to put in the work to help you out. Same
Yeah,
with New Orleans.
it just ain't like they gave that effort right now. I gave them a D, and I gave New Orleans a D minus. Reason being is because they're a veteran team, man, and it just seems like they're so cap hurt right now that I don't believe they're going to do anything but blow that team up if possible. But yeah, but them we seen the last of their good years, man, and
Yeah, because
that's
I'm
why I gave
sorry.
them a D minus.
Kellen Moore probably gonna get a couple more years that he shouldn't, but I don't think he's gonna be a good head coach myself.
Definitely going to that team. I'd be surprised if he do and emerge into one of the top quarter back coaches or just in general coaches at period.
Yeah. All right, so then was them to I then moved on to Atlanta, gave them a C minus because obviously they made the wrong decision. In the ideal world, you went ahead, you drafted Penix Jr. I think you always had the intention on playing him at some point this season. You should have did it sooner. Plain and simple. About 7, 8 games in, you see he was healthy. You should have put him in. You probably would have made the playoffs and went on from there. Bad decision.
And that's the reason why I give him a C minus because, like you said, Kirk Cousins at some point in the year he'll play good and he'll give you everything he have, and then Kirk Cousins start Kirk Cousins and man, and he just throw interception after interception. And at this point, I looked at it and I said, man, when Michael Penix came in and we seen how seasoned he looked right now at his rookie year, yeah, that was a huge mistake to pay that man all that money, and now you left in limbo. But yeah, I gave them a C minus because they had a strong defense when they wanted to play. The offense ain't bad neither. It just
Right.
most of it came down to Kirk Cousins not playing well.
bad decisions on his part in a division that was up for grabs most of that year.
Pretty much.
Of course, you had Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay would have been better if not for their injury situation. I gave them a B. I think they probably a team to beat in that division again next year, and I don't even think it's close. And kudos to Baker Mayfield. He make them a better team, man.
Yeah, I give them a B minus because, like you said, them injuries really hurt them, man. If they was healthy, just imagine having Chris Godwin 2 more games and Mike Evans another couple games, man. They would have probably went deeper than what they
Yeah,
did
they
too.
probably
But
would at least been 12-5, I think.
so yeah, I definitely believe that they're still one of them teams, man. They got to figure out what they're gonna do with Godwin, but I still feel like with Baker Mayfield, man, that's a pretty good team over there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, kudos for Baker for turning around his situation. Once upon a time, he was the backup in Carolina. Now here we are. So yeah, good for him. All right, moving on. We're gonna go with our division now, NFC North. Of course, we got Chicago. I gave them a D plus because they were smart enough to pull the trigger early, as I suggested they should have. They definitely have a future with one of the best offensive minds in the game as their head coach. They got a good quarterback. I do believe Caleb Williams will be a good quarterback in the league, not the super dynamic that everybody made him out to be a couple years ago, but I think he will be good. They definitely will add on to the offense. The defense wasn't as bad as you would think. I think they're gonna be all right.
Which team did you say just
Chicago
recently?
Bears.
Chicago. Chicago got a D from me because they was at one point they was at 500. They was 5-2, and I think the Hail Mary play kind of just made them go in the wrong directions after that, man. Just poor judgment on defense or special teams, I should say, and they just fell apart after that. But yeah, I definitely feel like no disrespect and them drafting a wide receiver, they should have drafted offensive lineman because that's one of the issues over there. But still, man, believe they'll address that eventually. They're gonna have a pretty good salary cap number once that time come around, a year in free agency. But yeah, I still feel like they deserve a D. And then I hope they don't get any better, man, because they got Ben Johnson. So
Yeah, understood. Okay, then of course we got Green Bay. I gave them a B. They were a playoff team, but it was just a little bit this, a little bit that, little bit tough division. They right where they need to be though. They're a young team, much like our team. And they're gonna continue to grow, they're gonna continue to build, they're gonna continue to do player development. They right where they need to be right now.
I gave them a B minus because they didn't really have a true number one wide receiver, which I believe they will address eventually now. And they know that was the issue. You had a lot of good number twos, but now the main honcho over there, the defense is good. They drafted pretty good over there, and they got some good guys in free agency. And then to get
But they love
Josh
Josh
Jacobs
Jacobs.
too, man, it was
Yeah,
a lot of good things they did over there, and they basically letting us know they ready to compete now. So, yeah, I feel like they did a good job.
right. I gave Minnesota an A minus because when push came to shove and it was time to handle the real business, they wasn't ready. And I think this was this for that. I do not see Sam Darnold coming back to Minnesota next year. I think they're gonna give it to JJ. JJ gonna have some growing pains. I don't see them playing quite so well next year.
I gave him a B plus just because of the way they sizzled out. I feel like Sam Darnold played good when he needed to, and he struggled at times. And we seen it even in some of their wins. They barely beat Green Bay twice when we saw him play. But the thing is, for him to come out and play and be as well as he was, and to go out there and execute like that, the defense was already pretty solid, and they had an okay offense with Jordan Addison, and then I mean, come on, Justin Jefferson, man. And then, they basically had a sound run game too, with Aaron Jones. But I still believe that's gonna be a team that they'll compete, but they won't be as good next year too. Because like you said, I believe that Sam Darnold's gonna walk.
Yeah, and that Detroit game, it just did things to his confidence that he may not never recover from. And of course, got to talk about our Lions. Gave them an A. All things considered, gave them an A because when you consider how many injuries we had, we should have nowhere in the world been 15-2. I don't see how we pulled it off at times, but we did. Of course, they had the biggest expectations. Everybody's picking to go to the Super Bowl. They didn't make it. So couldn't get them nothing stronger than the A, but had to get them the A because they were better than 12-5. I gave them 12-5. They ended up 15-2. They had home field advantage until they didn't. They ran into Washington and Washington was ready and. But yeah, all in all, damn good season. Just wasn't good enough.
Like you said, I'm glad it was the regular season grades because yeah, I gave them an A in the regular season too. With all the injuries and everything they suffered and still to play at a high level they did, man, you got to get credit where credit is due. And they had a headstrong coach. Ask me the same thing next year and we'll see because yeah, I definitely like, them getting David Shaw and some of the pieces over there, but we lost a lot too, man. Now, if you said the 25 next year, I would really be surprised if they can keep that momentum. But I believe a few moves here and there, man, on defense too could keep us right there. But yeah, I believe in the regular season they deserve an A. Lord knows, I'm glad we ain't talking about no playoff grades. But yeah, they get an A in the season.
Yeah, but it's definitely gonna be a harder year for them next year, no doubt. All right, that leads us to the last league. That'd be the NFC East. Giants F.
Ain't
Period.
nothing else to it, man. That was a circus.
Period. And did they address what they needed to address the most? No, because that coach is still the coach.
Man, I want to tell you something too, man. And you probably heard this already. Don't you know with the Giants, man, it seems like they're cursed, man. Everybody who left that team went on to win the Super Bowl, man.
Pretty much.
Pierre
Pretty.
Paul, Odell, my man Saquon, and there's a couple more guys too that I'm missing. But yeah, all of those guys went on to win championships after they left.
Yeah, they even got rid
Kadarius
of Daniel Jones
Tony.
early, and he ended up being on a playoff team. I mean,
Yeah, but then I forgot Kadarius Tony, unfortunately.
yeah, a lot of work to do for them. A lot of work. Okay, Dallas, I gave them a C minus. They somehow finished 7-10. I guess it depends on what we're looking at next year with Dak, and we already know the key. Fine, Micah Parsons, get a real running back.
Yep. They need a real running back, man. And I gave them a C minus. They did well, man. Surprisingly enough, with Cooper Rush, man. I didn't think they was gonna do that good. They did bad at one point, him trying to get back under, position. When you're not a starter and you got to get back into that situation, it's harder for you to catch on, but he caught on and did pretty good at one point. And the defense stepped up for Dallas too at that point. But yeah, man, they got a lot of stuff to figure out, man. They paid Dak and they paid, the CD Lamb. What are you gonna do now with Makai Parson? And there's a lot of other things you gotta address, man. So yeah, it's still a lot for them to do with that team.
And my advice, Cowboys, let Trey Lance go to the UFL. If he gonna be any type of quarterback in this league at some point, he got to get some legit playing time somewhere. I think that's the ideal place for us to figure out if Trey Lance is gonna be an NFL quarterback someday. He should be on somebody's UFL team playing
Give him time to develop.
right now. Okay, we got of course Washington. They got an A minus. I really feel like I disrespected them with the A minus though, because we did not expect what we got out of Washington at all. We got to give a lot of credit to that coaching staff. We definitely got to give credit to that young quarterback. Jaden Daniels, you the real deal. You the best quarterback in Washington since that kid RG3. And if this is what your rookie season looked like, I can't wait to see what you do next year when they add even more to what you got.
I gave him an A because of the way he executed Dan Quinn, what he did, and what they did in free agency too. The draft was decent, but they did a lot in free agency, getting some of the veterans over there to mix in with him. A lot of people probably think that that's a young team. It's an older team, by the way, because with all the veterans they had over there. Now the best thing they're trying to do is Dan Quinn learned from the best or one of the best coaches, and Pete Carroll
Yes.
to get the veterans around the rookie and have him on that rookie contract and try to keep that window open until his contract comes up. So yeah, I gave him an A.
Right. And then of course that leaves us with Super Bowl champs, who I obviously gave an A plus because they did what you supposed to do. They won it all. Smartest move they obviously made, getting that dude Saquon Barkley. That was a difference maker. Did not really need him as much in the Super Bowl. He was not the factor we thought he would be in that game, but he definitely was the person whose back got him to that point. And of course, give Jalen Hurts a lot of credit. That young man stepped his game up. He is a champion.
For him to not really be a factor, he was a big factor because when he wasn't running the ball, they focused on him in the passing game where he got some really big first downs for the team. And then that left it open for Jalen Hurts to run the ball and then for them to get that play over the top to, Devontae Smith. So, yeah, it was a lot that he did, but without doing, like, because we thought he was going to be that Super Bowl MVP, but it didn't matter because they did enough to win. And yeah, they get an A plus from execution. And that's one of the teams I say teams need to look at, man, and focus on. Most times you don't really have to get super big splashes in free agency. Just have a solid draft and focus on getting a few pieces here and there you need to complete your team.
And I say they sign who they need to sign and do a little bit more player development with some of the young people on that defense. And we right back here next year, giving them an A plus. So there you have it, people. That is our final grades for NFL 2024. Of course, we got all type of stuff jumping off. We got free agency coming up. We got franchise tags and all that good stuff. Hugh will, of course, keep you aware of that by what we will show you, because we got it all set up for you now. Hold on, let me put Hugh back up in here. There we go. All you gotta do is go on down to the ticker and see where you can find Hugh, and you will get all the information you need to achieve what you need to achieve and knowing what you need to know about the sports, okay? We ain't got to have you talk about it. Just read it, people. Read it.
Yeah, I think I said something on Facebook, man. I must have said the big game because they cut it like 11 seconds of what I said, and I knew I said it, and my expression on my face said, "Yeah, they might take that away." But then I seen that 11 seconds, so yeah, I got to be careful for saying that
Yeah,
now.
I wondered what had happened, but yeah, we got you. Got to be careful. NFL don't play about their stuff. Anyway, that's NFL. We're gonna slide the commercial in right about here.
Hello, hello, hello. It's another glorious day, my tea sippers, and you know what time it is. I hope you have all of your comfort together because it's time to dish tea. And your dish tea, darlings, with Big Meat.
Can't wait. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat. It's time to dish tea with Big Meat.
Darling.
And now we're back. We are here. This is the Guru Sports Session. That dude right there, the Guru. I am E-Buck the Nighthawk, the co-host, the producer, and whatnot, doing what I do. We are now going to take this time to talk about what's going on in the National Basketball Association. No, we are not going to talk about that garbage that they called All-Star Weekend. We're not even going to waste y'all time with that.
Probably
It was
one of the worst
horrid,
ones ever.
abomination. I did not like any parts of it. None. Let us move on. All right, so we start the second half of the season starting tonight, okay? And right now, this is the standings as we got them. We basically gonna talk about who in there, who ain't gonna be there, and who gonna do what. Okay, so let's start out over here in the West first. You right now, the worst team in the West, New Orleans, 13-42. Are they making anybody's playoff?
No, they need to go ahead and blow that team up too.
F. Done. Utah, right behind them, 13-41. Playoff?
F.
Also F. Should have traded more of the assets that they had. Portland's at 23-32. Are they making the playoffs?
Nope.
I'm surprised they didn't won 23 games, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
They did not get enough back for Dame.
Not at all whatsoever.
San Antonio, 23-29. Do they make the playoffs?
They're going to be in the play-in. Yeah, I believe they will.
I do believe so, too. They are really starting to come to that point, and I think we're going to get some outlandish games from the big fella Wemby these last few months.
And De'Aaron Fox is the X factor.
And don't forget that as well. So, yeah, I do believe they make it to the play-in game. And they're right up under their 11th place right now. We got Phoenix, 26-28. Do they make it?
In the play-in, yeah.
I think they pull off enough, assuming everybody's going to be healthy, to get to the play-in. I agree. All right, on the east side, before we get to the real teams, let's talk about the trash, okay? Washington has the worst record in the league, 9-45. Do they make 15 wins here?
Possibly, but I'm going to say no, because what I like about them struggling like this, remember when Kyle Kuzma had to say last year that you don't want to be the team to lose to that team, meaning the Detroit Pistons. Look at us now. You had to go to the Bucks because that team still stinks. So, no, I don't think they're going to make any improvements.
I sincerely hope that Cooper Flagg does not find himself in Washington next year. Please don't do that to that young man. Charlotte, not much better, 13-39. Mellow Ball, you didn't sign for the big money. You kind of stuck there, bruh. But the rest of your team, outside of that kid Miller, they ain't going to nobody playoff.
I give them an F too.
Absolutely. And right behind them, Toronto. Good move by y'all picking up Brandon Ingram, but it's just going to make you better than Charlotte and Washington. You still suck.
F.
And then right ahead of them is Brooklyn. They ain't no better. Probably the smartest thing they did was go ahead and get rid of that kid Simmons. Crazy how he's starting to play halfway decent now over there with the Clippers. But, yeah, Brooklyn, y'all blew this way back when. Going back to the days when you had Kevin Garnett and whatnot. From that point on, Brooklyn just didn't get it right. They still not getting it right.
I'm going to get in an F too.
I got you. And, of course, right before we get to the playoff teams, we got Philly at 20-34. Do they make the playoffs?
No.
The only way I can see it is if, for whatever reason, we get my man to suck it up and play like he could play. That would be Embiid.
I don't see it.
I see him maybe playing 15 more games this season out of the 30 that's left. So,
F.
D-. I can't give him the F. That dude Maxey is strong. But the rest of the squad, and Paul George, you a thief.
They need to build around Maxey right now. That's the reason why I gave him an F, because Paul George has been a disgrace. I think he wants out of Philly too, man. I don't know what it is about Philly. When people get there, they want out.
I don't think he really wanted in Philly. He went where he got the money. Plain and simple.
Agree. Let's be honest.
All right, so let's stick to the East now. These are the teams currently in the playoffs. Let's figure out if they're going to stay or not. Right now, we got Chicago at 22-33. They're going to make it?
Yeah, play in.
The only reason they make it because the rest of these teams under them suck.
Pretty much.
So I think they right there at 10. They're going to pretty much stay there at 10. Right above them is Miami. They making the play-in?
Yeah.
I think they'll probably win another 10 games. They'll be all right. Atlanta's right ahead of them. They better than Miami, but are they a play-in team or not?
One of them teams going to have to fall off, and I'm going to say Atlanta after letting my man Hunter leave. So, yeah.
Yeah, Miami might end up being a little bit better than Atlanta. Orlando, they right now at number 7. I think they move up.
Yeah, that's a good team,
Remember,
man. That's a
Paolo
really
was
good
hurt for
young
quite a
team.
time. He's healthy now. I think this is when they start to make that little push.
Yeah,
Now, of course, the team right ahead of them, amazingly enough, 29-26 Detroit Pistons. Are my Pistons making the playoffs?
for sure. And they're gonna win them 30 games too. And I thought that they was gonna win.
They might even mess around and win 40. That would be crazy, considering they only
Yeah.
won 14 last
And
year.
the teams that they blew out too, and what I liked about them too is because at first I was like, man, why they didn't beat Philly as much as I thought they would. But then I looked up and I was like, oh dang, our point guard Cade Cunningham wasn't even playing that game, and they still whooped them like that. So yeah, man, I see a lot of promise. This might possibly be a situation where the Pistons start really getting the respect they deserve, but they're going to need some more pieces. But what the coaching staff been doing, I give them credit though.
We could only imagine how much better they would be right now if Jaden Ivey hadn't got him.
Yeah,
They
I
would
agree.
have actually been top 4 in the East right now. That's crazy. But right
That's
now,
another
they're
20
still
points missing.
number 6. Right now, the number 5 team is Milwaukee. Do they move up or they kind of staying right around
They're gonna
there?
kind of stand in that area, man, because they're a funky team. Sometimes they play good, and sometimes you'll look and be like, "Damn, what happened to Dame?" And Giannis play, and they both played. So they kind of up and down this year.
Healthy Giannis, good contributions from Kuzma. I think they can move up to 4. Right now, at number 4, Indiana, 30-23.
Yeah, I think they could now. Know why you say that? Because Indiana, it just seems like they're like that gnat of a team that's always there. They always have a good defense, and they got a lot of good hustlers on that team, man. A lot of blue collar guys. So yeah, I think that Milwaukee can definitely move up. Keep forgetting about Kuzma being over there, man. That can help. So yeah, I think
Indiana
they
not
can
as
move
good
up.
as they was last year because
I
Halliburton
don't
not as
believe
good as
so.
he was last year. And the other kid, what is it, Marithian, whatever his name is, he ain't quite showed up like he did last year. So
Not how you did in the playoffs.
I think they might actually play their way down to the play-in game. I can see it. New York at 36-18, number 3 right now. Do they move up?
Possible, but I'm not sure.
I say no because the 2 teams ahead of them, right now you got Boston 39-16, and the team with the best record in the league right now, Cleveland 44-10. Does Cleveland end up the number 1 seed?
Yeah, but it don't matter in the playoffs, though, man, because I still don't think that they'll beat Boston in 7 games. Remember, we talked about that.
I don't think they do either, but I do think they make it interesting. I think it's a strong 6 they could get to. But yeah, I definitely think it's Cleveland or Boston winning in the East when all is said and done. Let's swap on over to the West now. We're
Okay.
making good time there, Hugh. All right. Right now, number 10 team is Golden State at 28-27. Do they stay in playoffs?
Yeah, Jimmy Butler definitely going to make sure of that, man. How far they go, I'm not sure, but they'll still be a playoff team.
I think they end up being a play-in team still, but yeah, I
Mhm.
definitely could see them winning another 12, 14 games maybe. Sacramento, right now, the number 9 team. Playoff team?
No.
I think we talked about how Phoenix or San Antonio probably gonna make it to the playoffs. That's probably one of the teams they're gonna knock off.
Hmm.
Sacramento, yeah. And then of course, right now we got Dallas at 30-26. But of course, we know the situation. No Luca. They got AD, but AD hurt for the foreseeable future. Do they make the playoffs?
Yeah, they will, because Kyrie ain't going to let them not make the playoffs.
I think they make it, but barely. Barely. Minnesota 31-25. Playoffs?
Yeah.
I think they about to step their game up. I think we're gonna see a very good second half from Ant-Man. That's gonna put them up a few notches. Because right next to them is the Clippers at 31-23.
I think that's the team they're going to pass. But yeah, the Clippers going to make it, but I think they're going to end up being a higher seed.
Yeah, I think the Clippers end up being like 8th or 9th
Hmm.
because think about it. Older team. We already know how the beard
Kawhi going to get hurt again.
during the playoff. Kawhi definitely gonna get hurt again at some point. I hate to say it, but he's yet to prove us wrong.
And unfortunately, it's a possibility James Harden can get injured. He's been doing pretty
Nah.
solid right now. But
Wouldn't
then,
it be crazy if an X Factor and all that ends up being that dude Ben? Wouldn't that be nuts?
Yeah, that would.
Anyway, we got the Lakers at number 5 right now, 32-20. Playoffs?
Yeah, they've been playing pretty good, and definitely with a healthy Luca. And when Luca's not rusty, you know, because he was coming off his injury too. And yeah, I definitely feel like with Luca, they'll definitely be a playoff team.
I really want to see what it looked like a couple weeks from now when LeBron is back healthy and Luka's there. And they really get to playing together. I think it could be real interesting, depending on what they seeding is. We got Houston at 4 with 34-21.
Definitely gonna make it, man. For one, you already know with them with their coach, man, Emi Udoka. I believe they would. He set the foundation, got some veterans over there, man, and got really good play off of that team, man. Yeah, I definitely feel like they'll be a playoff team.
They don't really have a number one per se in Houston. They just got a lot of people playing good team ball. It's definitely good enough to get them to the playoffs. I don't know if they do much once they get there, though.
No,
It's still a little early for them. We got Denver, number 3 right now, 36-19.
Denver will be there for sure. I don't think they're gonna move up though. They might probably stay right there in that
Yeah, I think
position.
they stay right there at 3rd. Jokic, plain simple. You got Jokic, you got the chance.
Yeah,
And of course, we need Kyler Murray to step his game up a couple notches, and let's just see what happens with that kid Porter Jr.
you
He
mean
is,
Jamal? You meant Jamal Murray?
yeah, you know what I mean.
Mhm.
All right, number
And
2 right
then with
now.
Russell Westbrook, you know, if he
Yeah, let's
can,
not forget Westbrook. Very good point. Very good point. Memphis right now is number 2 seed at 36-18.
they doing better than what I thought too, man. If they can continue to keep up this high caliber play, man, because that's the team nobody's been talking about, I believe they'll stand put.
Man, I think we ain't even seen the best of Memphis yet. I think they
No.
just getting started.
And the funny part is they moved on from Marcus Smart. It seemed like everybody went over there to Washington to die in these trades, huh?
And ain't missed a beat. But because they have the best record in the league at 44-10, and they are starting to get healthy again, not only do I see Oklahoma City making the playoffs, obviously, I think they will be the number 1 overall seed with the best record in the league when all is said and done.
Agreed.
SGA is MVP, period.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That's a really solid team, man. Everybody was talking about Cleveland, how well Cleveland was playing, but wasn't paying attention to OKC, and they slowly but surely end up having the best record in the league. And I don't think they're gonna stop because right now with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, man, and then you got Chet Holmgren healthy, and like choose your poison, man. You got Hardenstein, man. They just got a really good team over there, man. And
Very solid team. They get that kid Dart. They play good defense. They play good
mhm.
offense. They play pretty much
Caruth,
whatever team you want to play and however you want to play it, 3-pointers, inside play, they pretty much set up to play it any kind of way you set up to play. When all is
Caruth.
said and done, I'm looking at Boston and OKC. I still say it's Boston's to lose, but I think that's gonna make for a very nice finals. That's
Yeah,
gonna
they'll definitely give them a run for their money because OKC
absolutely,
ain't gonna bow down to nobody.
absolutely. And there you have it, folks. Our thoughts on the NBA as it stands now. Any other things you want to throw in the mix there, Hugh?
No, man, I basically fine with everything we said. I'm satisfied.
Alrighty, so am I. So those are the grades. We got NBA tonight. We got women's college basketball, men's college basketball, a lot of sports to check out. Remember, y'all, spring training starts very shortly. So we got some of that to discuss. Still a couple people out there that might switch teams between now and opening day. We will keep an eye on that. And anything else we need to keep an eye on, as you see through the ticker, this is how you follow what you need to know to find out what you need to know. Okay. That being said, I'm hungry. Hugh, you look kind of hungry too. It's time for dinner, y'all. So
Hmm.
yeah, even though we're gonna show this later on, right now we're going to eat. So we'll catch up with y'all next time on the show known as the Guru Sports Session. Until then, y'all know what it is. We out.